sorry. You guys switch up on me. Would you like to do the invocation? Well, they have it on here. I thought we normally didn't do it on Saturday.
Why not?
Dear God, our divine spirit, creator of all there is and ever shall be, we ask you to guide us this evening in the right direction for the highest good of our city. We ask you to bless all the residents, our council, and all who work for our city. For this we are thankful. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Fran?
Chairman Dale Masad.
Here.
Vice Chairman Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Member Nancy Britton.
Here.
Member Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Member William Dittmer. Let the record show that Member William Dittmer is not present. City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager Vince Lupo.
Here.
Okay, motion to approve previous minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Announcements, is that for you, Mr. Lupo?
None, sir.
Okay. General public, any thoughts, comments? CRA, bring it up to here. I like your tie.
Okay, pardon?
I said, bring it to the council,
Okay.
or to the CRA.
I don't have anything at this time.
Anybody? Okay, we're going to the agenda. Contract award for the DMMA site.
Thank you.
Do you want to do that, you might.
You want me to do, Ms. Lewis?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. I think this is the first kind of formal RFP bid that you've done, so when this happens, just so you understand the process, there was a bid opening here on June 2nd. The bids are reviewed by the Bid Review Committee. Now, the purpose of the Bid Review Committee, which is Jocelyn, Erin, and myself, our sole purpose is to reduce the amount of bids, whittle it down to 5 or 3, okay, and make sure that there's compliance with the documents that came in. We opened the bids, and there was 2 bids, one for $90,727.35, and one for $323,000. Since there were only 2 bids, we didn't have to sit down and whittle them down. Both are presented before you. Having said all that, we look at the bids, we send it over to our expert who examines the bids, because there's categories in them, it's a little complicated. There's an email there with some of his comments, which are of minor nature. At this point in time, the City Council awards the bid to the lowest and best bidder. Okay, so now let me just read to you what that means. The City Council will award the contract to the lowest and best bidder. This is our code as well as the state law. For the purposes of determining the best bidder, the City Council may consider all relevant factors, including the qualifications of the bidder, prior experience of the bidder in similar activities, prior work performed by the bidder on behalf of the city or other units of government or their agencies, and any other factors deemed relevant by the City Council after investigation of the bidders. The staff has investigated those issues, and it's their recommendation to select the lowest bidder.
That would be biomass.
That would be biomass, yes, they're the lowest and
Okay.
best bidder. That's
For
their
just from
recommendation.
my edification, we could take the higher bidder if we thought they had more qualifications, or they were better. Is that correct or not?
You could, and as a practical matter, if the bids were $500 apart on a $300,000 bid, those issues would become more important. As you can see from the email, there was a couple of issues here about whether something was included or not. From my conversations, that's about a $2,000 matter. Is that correct, Jocelyn? So it'd have to be pretty egregious, I guess, if that was the case, which isn't the case now, of course.
Do we have any paper on what it wasn't included? I'm not sure.
If you look at the email there, just to clarify the bids, this is.
Where is that, Jim?
It's the second page. You see the email there? That's why it was included. See right after the agenda item number 1, staff recommendations, recommends the biomass. Then the next page is an email. You see
Okay.
it there? At the bottom, you'll see Stuart Rogers, who's our expert, going to Mr. Griffin, a principal And just to clarify your bid, this is memorializing the conversation they had for our benefit, as a matter of fact. Following items are included within the other lump sums. There's lists of items and how much they were charging, so they were just making sure everything's being covered. And so there was a couple of minor items, maintenance of traffic payment, that's all included with the bid. And it says also, I'm clarifying that the construction stakeout and record survey is not included in your bid. So having looked at these numerous pages, those two things Stuart was expecting, wasn't in here. They were of a minor nature, $2,000. So you could say maybe we're paying him $92,000, okay? So it's a minor matter.
So at the end of the day, we've got 300,000 versus 90,000.
Plus a possible two, right?
Is that something we could put our foot on at the end of the day? If the two was 300,000?
Yes, in the future, right now, if the other bid was $92,000, it'd be something up for discussion, but now it's
Okay.
not.
Do I have a motion to accept? Oh, wait, we don't have a councilwoman
Yes, you do. She's right behind you.
here. Oh. Sorry, Nancy. Do I have a motion to accept biomass at 90,000?
Motion to approve biomass.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Just a question, maybe you answered it already, I missed it, but at the end of the contract, on the first page, I guess it is, some additional work beyond the bid proposal may be required, such as construction, stakeout, and recording survey can add additional costs. How much do you think?
2,000.
Is that what you were
yeah.
saying?
Yeah, matter of fact,
Okay.
it's just so you understand the process. You're never gonna get every single detail perfect.
Okay.
So we called up Stuart, and he told us this, so we went back and said, well, how much, Stuart, is that gonna be? Because the
Okay.
council
You were thinking
will
like I
probably
was.
ask, so that's where we came up with that number.
We have the money, Mr. Lupo, to get this
Yes, we
done?
do, sir. It has already been set aside.
Do I have a motion?
You have a motion?
I already had a motion.
Do we have a
I already
motion and a second?
Yes.
You wanna go to the public?
Discussion, go to public. Anyone?
Don't look like.
This is a climax in my career in this city.
Good, though, we do it.
17
Could use
years.
another word.
Any other discussion? I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The dredge has begun.
Okay.
And then we have Kristen, I think, who isn't here. That was the 4th of July update. Do we have anything to say about that?
Yes, we thought a member of the Bayou Association would be here to speak to the issue, but our staff has been working diligently to assure all the individual components to make a successful event are underway. We have obtained copies of the contract for the fireworks. We've obtained different documents. We presented different questions and had them answered, all from the Bayou Association. And at this stage, as far as I know, it's a go. We're going to have another meeting this coming Friday with our staff to finish around, but at this stage, it is moving forward, and we should have a pretty interesting event. The parks have been prepared. We will be closing Brasher Park because of the inability to properly patrol and protect ingress and egress from that park. Has to do with fire trucks getting there if necessary. So we will not be using Brasher Park, but all our other facilities, our new pier, Waterfront Park, not Winslow, but I forgot, I dropped it, Olsner will be utilized, along with any other observation parts, and I'm sure parties all along the Bayou area. So we're on target. It hasn't been easy. Staff has been pulling teeth, and I give them a lot of credit. Police, fire, Public Works, Building Department, Jocelyn, and even fiscal has been involved. So we're moving forward and looking forward to a good 4th of July.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just a question, we were sitting at 10-minute show some time back, and I understand that Whiskey River was going to maybe offer money.
Has
to
the time,
lengthen-
I don't believe the time has been increased, it's still at 10 minutes. I had discussion with a member of the Bayou who said he would try and contribute some additional funds, but as of now, it's still a 10-minute show.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
'Cause I sent them one person that was gonna give $1,000. We're not in control of that.
No, we're not in control of that at all, believe me. This is solely the Bayou presentation. We're helping every possible way, but that contract is between the Bayou Association and the fireworks people. And we have a copy of it along with the insurance and the bonds and everything else. If there is any increase in that time, staff will try and push for that
I was
come
gonna say-
Friday. But at this stage of the game, we're at 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point where I remember in the past that when it gets closer like this, you're not going to get much from the fireworks company because it's all been picked over. So that was something I'd hoped that they were going to take care of again. This is part of the problem that I have with dealing with the bio business, because I heard they were going to have people that were going to contribute and all these things, and we didn't get any data. And now we're a few weeks away
We're the
with
contributor.
a 10-minute show, which I wasn't happy with, because I would like to not be embarrassed again. I want this to be a decent show. And so,
Can't go down.
I know, but, people come out, I'd like to give them something to see. And I had hoped that, I thought I had their word that they were going to lengthen that show.
Vice Mayor, remember, this is not being staged by our city.
I know.
We are a contributor towards this event. Staff has been working diligently to try and facilitate this event, so the visitors to our community and indeed our residents have a decent show. We're doing the best we can, given the circumstances. We don't have that control. Perhaps you may wish to consider that in this coming fiscal year on our budget, but that's entirely up to council. We're doing the best we can with what we're given.
And I realize that. It's
Right.
just, it's frustrating because regardless whether the bio business district does it or not, it's a reflection on our city and people think we're putting it on.
Yes,
and-
sir, it's a very large paintbrush.
So I
Thank you.
will have a discussion with Kristen. I brought it up in council, and I personally would like us to be in control of it and solicit please stay with me. I look at this as an opportunity to make money for the parks.
Yeah.
And at the same time, any restaurant owner will tell you they're making their money off beer as opposed to hot dogs. So I would like for us to ask Mr. Matthew to look into changing the laws so that on Waterfront Park, for instance, we can sell beer. We have our police department. Nobody can, get out of hand. And,
Well,
I mean, it just.
You can't do it
really,
now.
Celebrating the country and you can't have a beer is not reasonable.
It is problematic, Mr. Mayor, in that every time I've seen that done, you have to have a location, you have to have a restriction area, so people can't be handing it off to underage kids and all that. So it has, even in Newport Richey, when they do theirs, it's in a confined little area and you can't go outside of
Oh,
that.
they can only drink in a combined area?
Yes.
I find that onerous, but that's why we have a police department. And if you want to legislate morality, I want to first look at your copy. because we're not gonna be able to do that. But when that sale brings us enough money to put the pier back, or,
I don't argue with that.
I know you're not arguing, where's the.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible that we can even do that? I'm not even sure that we have that in our trust, in the trust that we have. Can we
Yes.
do beer?
If I can, Mayor.
Please.
We looked into that specifically because the Bayou Association had asked us. We received a favorable comment from them, provided that we can have a proper accounting of the funds. And that's a very real issue. And one of the questions is this a money-making project for the Bayou Association, since they are running it, with only a small percentage going, which must go back for upkeep, maintenance of the park? That's an issue that's wide open. We have, in fact, ensured that there will be at least permit fees and some other issues where funds will come back if they pursue, as they say they would, the other vendors. Beer is a very big item. It has to do with contributions, et cetera, et cetera. And you may wish to consider that issue for some future date. But as of now, we see no way that this community, the city council, can allow on-site consumption, open containers, and several other issues relating to the consumption of alcohol at this late date. And again, at some future time, whether we control the process or whether it goes back to the Bayou, the issue concerning profitability and who gets what from where from whom will be put on the table. At this stage, we have very little to say other than the fact that we are a contributor of $5,000 plus our labor and our collective aid.
Are
So
we
that's
going-
where it stands at this time.
Will they be responsible for any of the police, anything?
No, sir. No, sir.
For
They are-
planning?
That's exactly, that was the
Right.
parameters that they set up.
I brought that up several times
Right.
when we were discussing this.
Exactly, during the funding of the issue, you brought that up. So it's
Well-
more than simply $5,000. There's a lot of time involved, a lot of effort
Vince.
involved. And at this stage, the only remuneration the community is going to get is a small, very small amount of fees and permits from the association through their vendors. That's it.
Well, thank you, because that just supports my premise that we should be in charge of it. And before next year, when you go to a carnival, they sell you tickets. You don't have tickets, you can't get on a ride. If you don't have tickets, you can't buy a beer. That takes care of a lot of the accounting, I think. Whether we sell the beer, they sell the beer.
Mayor, that's an entirely different issue, and we could
Well, you
address.
just said
Yeah,
accounting.
correct. We can handle all of that.
Okay, well, let's handle it.
We can't handle it now, though. Your
I didn't
time-
ask you to handle it now. I'm saying, I don't wanna be here next July 13th and say, geez, we should have handled that.
The issue will come up when we're doing our budget processing, and if that's what council wants to do, certainly we'll entertain it.
The accounting is, I think, the biggest issue. Newport Richey, for instance, will sell tickets. Good way to
That's what
keep count of what's actually, you get some people at the cash place, you know, that you can really trust and whatnot, so that you have a good accounting of what's coming in. But I think it's too much of a project for our city. I think what we ought to do maybe is even look into a committee. Like, we have Claudia Smith, she's an ex-banker, you know, excellent citizen of Port Richey. She would probably be happy to maybe do a committee. I don't know if we're allowed to do something like that, but
Well-
just a thought, bringing some of the residents in to maybe help. I would think it would be a pretty good sized operation to.
I agree with you, Councilman. The issue is, again, let's go back a little bit. The issue was whether we would have any participation whatsoever. We managed to come up with $5,000 from CRA funds for
Right.
this issue. Again, if this is, the day I first arrived here, I began personally to investigate fireworks for the 4th of July. I contacted fireworks companies. I was going down that path until we made a left-hand turn and went with the Bayou Association. So, if council's willing to consider that, there are different, vehicles that we can use. Certainly an overall committee of individuals, who can chair along with our assistants, absolutely. But council has to make that determination, and if they do, we can budget for it and put it in this year's coming budget.
Because we have some of our different, our historic society and all these groups that haven't even met, and probably looking for something to do that maybe they would set up a committee. So we can look at that.
Nancy, I don't think this, you have 10,000 tickets, okay? Selling them at the gate. You wanna buy beer with, hot dogs, whatever you're gonna buy, you gotta have a ticket. You can't pay cash. 10,000 tickets, you got this many, where are they all? I don't think that's a huge accounting problem, but we do have a problem in that we're not allowed to have alcohol on city property. Is that correct, Mr. Ryan?
You can't sell alcohol in the park.
Okay, but we can change that.
You can, oh, sure, I got it.
It's not in the FCT deed. We can change that, and I suggest we start working on it, massage it, get everybody's problems out of it, and have a very clean thing. It's just a matter of Mr. Matthews changing that before we can go into whether if we don't wanna do it next year, we don't do it. But if we want to do it, and I suggest they're not gonna give us a huge amount of money unless you write it in, how much the vendors have to give. I got Fran and Aaron and Jocelyn to sell beer. No, but I'm serious about changing
In
that.
a truck?
In an elf house.
Okay.
Well, let's look at it next year.
Bigger bikinis.
Next year, we look at it, I think if Jim prepares something, we have a few meetings to go over it.
Doc,
Eminently
we're
doable, Mayor.
too close.
It's what?
Eminently doable.
Well, then can we direct Mr. Matthews, or do I have to reopen the others?
You- I think Mr. Matthew understands what we're doing.
Let me just say, if you want to be able to sell alcohol in the park, you know, say Jim prepared an ordinance so we can sell alcohol in the park. I'm not going to get into all these details about how you sell alcohol in the park. I'll let you sell alcohol in the park on either proper application to the city manager or to the city councils, because
Right.
I presume you're not going to be selling alcohol in the park every day. You'll do it once or
No,
twice a year, so.
I was looking at for some sort of
Or
ordinance,
event or whatever, yeah.
a special event
I
ordinance.
got that. So those
Done by the
details
city.
of how you want to do it can be done by resolution or otherwise. You just need to change, right now, you're not allowed to sell alcohol in the park. So you just need to change that, said there's still no selling of alcohol in the park except at a special event.
So then,
And if you want to have a special event, you make application to the city manager or to city council, you'll tell me. And
Or
then-
the city
And certain
has-
regulations will be set forth in the
Right.
resolution. So I don't need to get into the details of
can we
all
get
of it.
into the detail of the city can be?
Then you can do that in your regulations of how you're gonna do that.
Right.
Now, that's a simple issue, okay, if you in fact want to sell alcohol in the park, right?
Well,
It's a
that'll be
major
up to
issue,
council.
and that has to be done by ordinances and 2 readings, that's a major issue, you want to start selling alcohol in the park. The
On special events only?
yeah, on special events only, of course, and I presume you don't want to be consuming and selling alcohol in the park all the time. And then the second issue that, you know, Jocelyn was talking about is the Florida Communities Trust. They have no problems with the sale of alcohol in the park, okay, but the city is responsible for the accounting, and I'm sure you can figure the accounting out, but
I'll take
in other
care of
words,
it.
their basis is that the event, when it raises money, is gonna be used for park benefit.
We cover
Okay.
lots.
So, in other words, it becomes somewhat problematic that it's someone that's a third party coming in and doing it for a charitable benefit. They're gonna wanna see where that money's going and things like that. We have yet to receive any proof of any charitable nature over there, right? No, we're looking for the award letter from the Internal Revenue Service. We do not have it, okay? So you can say you're charitable till I get that, you're not charitable. Okay.
But we don't have, as a city, have to
With
have-
city, no, but I guess if the city is, if we're gonna sell alcohol, we're gonna be the ones selling
Yeah.
the alcohol, okay? So we have to buy alcohol, we have to sell alcohol, we make a profit, we gotta put the money back into the park, which
CRA
isn't a
fund.
problem.
That's great. And I'll guarantee you I can get the beer donated.
Well, for whatever, yeah, whether you should do it or can't do it, that's up to you. I'm just telling you, it's really not a problem. It's just that when you bring in a third party to do your event, and we're responsible, the county, it becomes extremely complicated in terms of the legal issues. Not that you couldn't do that, but first step is yes. This council has to tell me you wanna, for special events, for lack of a better word, you want to be able to sell alcohol at any park or just waterfront park?
I
Or, you know,
would
you just
say-
need to let me know that, and that's a relatively easy change. And then I would say, how do you do that? Well, you make application to the city manager. City manager will set forth rules to be approved by city council, whether it's done,
Right.
you know, that's
But, I
easy.
mean, can
But
it
the
be
ordinance
a-
is simple.
The city may, at its sole discretion, take over this particular event and do the accounting and put the money into
When you say
the-
take over this particular event, the event doesn't exist yet. It's in our minds. Do you understand what I mean? I'm not sure what event you're referring to.
Any event, the city council may choose to have the city participate and oversee the entire venture.
When you say the city participate, in other
The
words,
city,
we can
is
we can
the-
restrict it
am I
just
not
that the.
making myself clear?
Well, no, you're not. In no offense, but you're not. You got to remember, we can't be gray in our conversation here. Let me explain this again. Look, if you want to make it so you can sell alcohol in the park, the city sells the alcohol, or are you going to let other people sell the alcohol?
I think
Now, we
it's
could.
city.
Well, that's a question. That's something you have to sit down and decide. Do you understand what I mean? In other words, you
Right.
want to have an event that the city, but the city will take control. In other words, the ordinance will say you can't sell alcohol in the park unless it's a special event, okay? They're
Right.
gonna say special events could only be held by the city and we run them, or you could say people can make application to run special events. These are decisions you would have to make, okay? And so you can talk about that at a later time, whatever, but I would need to know that.
All right, Ms.
You wanna
Britton?
say just the city runs the events, I'm just telling you that when you say other third parties are gonna come in to Waterfront Park, and it's different because of those restrictions, and you wanna come in and say, I wanna run an event at Waterfront Park, they have no problems, they being the Florida Communities Trust, with the selling of alcohol. However, they now are gonna be extremely strict about where that profit of that money goes, and whether it's gonna be to nonprofits, well, where they're okay with
Right.
that. We make the money on the $100 application for your every charge, we gotta use that there. But to let private vendors come in for profit-making purposes may be problematic.
I don't wanna do that.
I understand that.
I want us to do it.
If I might, Mayor, I can lay out a course of action for you. Not at a CRA meeting, but at a general city council meeting, some meeting in the very near future, council should debate the issue or discuss the issue concerning the potential sale of alcohol for the city, by the city, and at that point in time, if council so chooses to go in that direction, they can direct the city attorney to craft a specific law with respect to alcohol. From that point in time, then we can move forward on events and other issues, as Mr. Matthew outlined. So at this stage of the game, I think you just need to end the CRA meeting, and at some future city council meeting, debate the issue and the merits of selling alcohol at a special event for whatever reason in our park or wherever you want to do it. But that should be by council after.
Would that also be the place to come up with the committee that would be dealing with this?
Once you've made a determination with respect to alcohol, then we can easily put together a committee, from.
Or it depends on how you
What do
wanna
we
do it.
need a committee for?
See, it's unlike Newport Richie, they just need to come in and say, we're gonna have events in the park, these are gonna be the rules. we're
They
gonna
know it's
sell."
the 4th
But the
of
problem is,
July.
we have a third issue out there, being the Florida Community Trust, that makes this complicated. You said,
Right.
Jim, could you pass thing, and we could have events over at Nick's Park and sell alcohol? Well, that'd be easy, I could just say, yeah, upon the application to the city manager, the rules, he decides you can go sell alcohol on certain days, well, you know, if there's a special event, but we have a third thing in there. So the actual mechanics of how we would do it becomes, but I agree with Mr. Lupo. The first issue is, do you want to allow the sale of alcohol in a park? That's a major issue. I can change that, it's very easily, just say, no, you can't sell alcohol in the park except when there's a special event. There will be a resolution passed when special events can occur, and then secondarily, you can discuss the finer points.
Okay, so if we were to, I'm thinking of the city, and I know that we don't have to budget anything more than what we have to put out. We're gonna bring back 3 times more. Then how do we also include for someone that wants an event in City Park to do that? And
Well,
that would be the more,
That would be the more complicated
Yeah.
one. So you want to have third parties coming into Waterfront Park to sell alcohol. I assure you, that's going to be problematic.
all right, then I
Okay,
think
with
if
the
you just
Florida
roll it
community, they
around
don't
your
have any
mind-
problems with it, but they're gonna wanna see where that money goes. All accounting is our responsibility. Somebody doesn't do it, we're gonna be held accountable,
Okay, but don't
which
you
is the
think-
problem. And number 2 is, you know, if it's a nonprofit group coming in and the money's going towards nonprofit, how much are we gonna get for the park? You understand? If we're just doing this so other people can make money, I don't think they're gonna have a problem with that.
I'm gonna have a problem with that.
Well, whatever, I'm just
They're
trying to
gonna
tell you.
use, this year, we're allowing our police, we're gonna put out, we put in $5,000. We're putting in police protection and fire. And what do we get? I mean,
Planning.
this is the worst deal I've heard of.
But
So-
I agree with Mr. Lupo, it's a 2-step process, and the first one's a major step. If you wanna do that, just
Okay,
regular meeting, say
Regular
prepare it that we.
meeting.
Yes.
At this point, let's let people go home. Do you mind if I, motion to, adjourn?
I would, with one exception, Ms. Lupo, I expect this on the agenda next council meeting.
You want this on the agenda for next?
Yes. Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.